Okay, let's pick up right where we left off. Let's go into problem 21. 21 says if 33% of x equals 99, comma, x equals. So 33% of, we know what of means, x. It doesn't even say is. It puts a nice equal sign in there for us. Equals 99, figure out what x is. 33% of means times x equals 99. As a decimal, that would be 0.33x equals 99. Divide by 0.33 on each side. And what do we get there? 99 divided by 0.33 equals 300. So x equals 300. And if we scope out the possible choices there for 21, it looks like choice D is the winner. Okay? So that's how we do that one. What's 22 have to say for itself? What percentage of 200 is 250? Okay? What percent of 200 is 250? Directly translate that into an equation. The words what percent or what percentage, we'll call that x. Of means times 200. Is means equals 250. Solve for x. In this case, divide by 200. Now, we're not going to get a percent for the answer. We're going to get a straight decimal. And this is going to be a number bigger than 1 because our numerator is larger than our denominator. So 1.25. Okay, but we need to convert it to a percent. So how do you convert to a percent? You move the decimal 2 places to the right, and you slap on a percent sign. So 125%. If we check out our choices here, we're going to see choice B for problem 22. Okay. 23. If x is an integer, what's an integer? It's the whole numbers, 0, and the negative whole numbers. Okay, so the nice pretty whole numbers, including the negative whole numbers, including 0. So x is an integer, that is, if x is an integer, then the solution set of 6 is less than x is less than or equal to 7. What numbers fall into that category? So think about x's perspective. So read backwards. X is greater than 6, so not 6, greater than 6. And now read the other way. X is less than or equal to 7. So if it's less than or equal to 7, 7 counts as a part of my solution. But 6 does not count because it's strictly greater than 6, not greater than or equal to. Okay, so if I examine my choices, we put sets of numbers in these curly Q braces. The only one that fits the bill there is going to be the number 7. Okay, so that's choice B. Okay, the one that choice A with 6 and 7, that's no good. C is no good. D, that circle with the slash through it, that's like the Greek letter phi, that's called the empty set, right? That means nothing, not 0. 0 is a number. Empty set means nothing. Okay, that's not it though. It's choice 7, which is choice B. Okay. All good there. Let's see what 24 has to say for itself. How many degrees are in each unmarked angle of the following parallelogram? Well, we've seen rectangles, squares. Whenever we have this four-sided closed figure like this, all together we have 360 degrees all the way around if I add up all the angles, okay? So what do we know? We know that this one is 50 and this one is 50, okay? And a parallelogram says that this one and this one are going to match. So we just kind of think about it and figure it out. Together, those two 50s make 100. So altogether, there's 360. So if I subtract 100, there's going to be 260 left. But that 260 must be split between those two angles. So each one's going to be 130. So if we check out our options here for problem 24, we'll see that C is going to be our answer, 130 degrees. All right, 25. Let's see here. The square root of 45. Okay, now simple square root in some respect, but It's not a perfect square root, so we can't really run to the calculator, because if I say 45 and then hit my shift button and my square root button, I get some decimal, 6.7, blah, 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 some irrational number that just keeps going. Okay, da, 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 da. That's not one of my choices, right? My choices don't look anything like that. So we need to remember some properties of radicals, okay? We need to factor that 45 in such a way that we can find a perfect square root hidden inside. Okay, now you may say, 45 is 15 times 3, okay? And you're right, it is 15 times 3. However, the 15 is not a perfect square root, neither is the 3. So factoring it in that fashion didn't help us. I need to factor it in such a way that there's a perfect square root hidden inside. So how about 9 times 5? Because I know 9 is a perfect square root. Okay, so I can call that radical 9 or square root of 9 times the radical 5, and then the square root of 9 is just a good old 3. So we could read that answer as 3 radical 5, and if we look at our choices, I betcha one of them is going to be it, and it's choice A. Okay, so that's how we would tackle something like that, simplifying a radical. 26. Barry has 4 more cards than Ken. Together they have 44 cards. If X represents the number of cards Ken has, then which of these equations will represent the total number of cards? If I were just reading that, X and Y, sometimes you can get confused on what's what. If I were just reading that, I would say B for Barry and K for Ken. I would say Barry has 4 more cards than Ken. So Barry equals Ken plus 4. And together they have 44. So Barry plus Ken equals 44. So I would probably introduce the letters B and K. Just for me, it's easier, but that's not one of my choices, of course. There's no B's and K's in the answer. So I have to read a little deeper into the problem and say, okay, X is supposed to represent Ken. So I really shouldn't have a K, I should have an X. So I could say with my first equation, B equals X plus 4, and my second equation, B plus X equals 44. Okay, but you see, that's still, none of my choices fall into that category. So I need to do what's called combine these equations. It's a system of equations. I'm going to use what's called the substitution method. B equals this creature here we call X plus 4. That's what B is. So I'm going to take this creature and I'm going to put it right there where that B is. So that's really X plus 4, but then I had plus 1 more X equals 44. So I can simplify and combine my like terms of X there and get 2X plus 4 equals 44. Now I should start looking at the answers here and see if one of those looks like it matches, and it does. If we see choice C is going to be our winner here, okay? I just happened to look up at this stage, 2X plus 4 equals 44. That might not have been one of my choices. Maybe somebody continued the algebra and said, well, if you were solving for X, you'd subtract 4 from both sides. So it could have said 2X equals 40. That's just as legitimate, okay? Somebody could have brought it all the way home and solved for X and said X equals 20, okay? I mean, we can go to various stages of solving that equation. The problem was looking for the equation, not the solution to the equation. So pay attention to the answers on what they're looking for to help you know when to stop. Otherwise, you may have gone all the way to 20 and said, oh, I didn't have to do all that. Okay, so make sure we understand what question is being asked. All right, that's 26. Let's see what 27 has to say. A patient is to receive 3 grams of a medication over 6 days. If he is to receive 2 equal doses of the medication per day, how many milligrams will he receive with each dose? So I've got a couple things here. I've got grams and milligrams in the same problem. I'm going to want to consolidate that. And now I'm taking some medication scattered over a number of days, but I'm taking it multiple times per day. So we really got to stop and think what's going on here. So we need to receive 3 grams. Let's turn that into milligrams. Okay, how do we do that? Well, if you remember our metric system, if my base unit was gram, I had deci, centi, milli, okay, in terms of my steps down from my base unit of grams. So deci, centi, milli, there's 3 powers of 10 involved there. So that's 3,000 milligrams. So 3 grams equals 3,000 milligrams, okay? So I can forget about the 3 grams. I need to deliver to this patient 3,000 milligrams of medication over 6 days, okay? If he's to receive 2 equal doses per day, how many milligrams per day? So we're getting close here already. It's 3,000 milligrams per 6 days. Okay, if you write it as a ratio like that, look at the units, milligrams per day. If I perform this division, 3,000 divided by 6, I'm going to get 500. We didn't need a calculator for that one, did we? Milligrams per day, okay, per 1 day. If it makes you feel better to put the 1 in there, put it in. So 500 milligrams in 1 day, okay, but what's the question? The question says he's going to get 2 doses each day. How much does he get for each dose? So I got to cut that 500 in half, right? That's 500 for the whole day. So each dose, I could write it, would really be helpful, is half of that 500, so it's going to be 250. If we scope out our choices here for our answer, it's going to be choice C, 250 milligrams. All right, 28. If 75 milliliters of solution contains 30 milliliters of a specific medication, how much of that medication will be needed to provide 120 milliliters of the same solution? Lots of proportions on this exam, okay? Direct proportions, okay? These things directly vary. We can set it up just like equivalent fractions, okay? Pay attention to our units. Now, in this case, everything's milliliters, so we just have to pay attention to one of them is going to be milliliters of solution. So if I look at, I've got 75 milliliters, I'll just say solution, SOL. If I have that, I can, that contains 30 milliliters of the med, okay? I need to keep it straight. I've got solution on the top and med on the bottom. If I flipped it the other way, that's fine, as long as I'm consistent on the other side. Let me just draw a line here to separate out that problem. I'm going to have solution over med again here with the rest of my proportion. What do we have here? How much medication will be needed to provide 120 milliliters of solution? So I'm given the solution part, so that's going to go on top. I don't know the med part. That's my unknown, call it X, okay? It'll have units of milliliters of med, okay? So let's drop the units now since we have it figured out. 75 over 30 equals 120 over X. I'll cross multiply and I'll get 75X equals 30 times 120. 75X equals 3,600. Divide by 75. What are we going to get for X here? We need to do 3,600 divided by 75. That looks like about 48 to me, okay? So 48 milliliters of the medication is going to go into that 120 milliliters of solution. Okay, if we check out our answers here, it's going to be choice C. Okay, and that's how we would tackle 28. 29. How many liters are equivalent to milliliters? Okay, well now it's just really metric stuff. Ready? I mean, remember? Kilo, hecto, deca, and then the base unit. Deci, centi, milli. Okay, so I'm going, how many liters? So I want to know the base unit of liter if I have 300 milliliters. So how do you go from milliliters to liters? Well, I go 1, 2, 3 steps to the left. So if I've got 300 milliliters, my decimal is there after that 0. I need to go 1, 2, 3 steps to the left. So it's going to be 0.3 liters. All right, and if I check out my choices here for 29, I see there is no choice that says 0.3 liters, is there? Look at that. Now we got to get sneaky. Well, it's there. It's just shown differently, right? If you look at choice D, this is 29. D is written as 3/10 of a liter, right? And 3/10 is the same thing as 0.3. So I had to do the extra step of figuring out the answer. Wasn't exactly in the form I thought it would be, but it's right there if we look, okay? So watch out for that. All right, 30. 4 equal squares have been placed side by side to form the following rectangle. If the perimeter of the rectangle is 120 centimeters, what is the area of one of the squares? All right, so we're mixing up perimeters and areas here, number one. Let me attempt to draw it. We'll pretend those are squares, close enough. I know that the perimeter all the way around is 120 centimeters. Well, the nice thing about the way it's structured here is that these are all squares, so all the sides are the same. So if I just call it S for side, that's a side, that's a side, that's a side, that's a side, da, 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 da. All these little pieces here are the same length. I'll call it length S for side. Perimeter means add them up all the way around. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 10 of them. So I know that 10 times whatever this S is equals 120 centimeters. Divide by 10, divide by 10. So S equals 12 centimeters. Now I bet you that's one of the answers. I haven't looked. Oh, it's not. See, shame on them. They should have made that one of the answers because we're so confident, we're so proud of ourselves. We calculated that 12, but that's not what we were asked. We were asked to find the area of one of these little squares, right? The area of a square is side times side, or side squared. So the area is 12 centimeters, squared, which means 12 centimeters times itself times 12 centimeters. So I'm going to get 144 square centimeters. All right, so if we check out our choices now, choice B would be it. I'm kind of surprised 12 was not one of the choices. Usually they give you an answer that you can kind of stumble into and think you're right, but really be wrong, and they make that one of the choices to think you're right. Okay, so always important to really think your way through the question and make sure you answer the question that's actually being asked. Okay, what's 31 have to say for itself? Which of these numbers has the smallest value? Well, this, I would just do a quick trial and error process here. 1 divided by 11, that's 0.0909. Okay, this is 31. Just check out our choices. Well, 0.45, we know that's bigger without even thinking about it. 0.7% now, so 2 decimal places to the left and drop the percent sign, 0.007. That one's looking promising so far. And then 3/20, I think we know that's not going to be that small. That's 0.15. Okay, so the smallest would be this one here, which would be choice C. Okay. Trial and error. There's maybe a quicker way to do it, but that's how I would do it if I were sitting there. Okay, 32. Of 60 patients treated with a certain medication, 24 showed no improvement. What percentage of patients improved? Okay, so 60 were treated. 24 no improvement. Okay, so we need to figure out how many did improve, right? It would be obviously a simple little subtraction problem here. 36 did improve. Okay, and the question says, what percentage of the people did improve? So I need to take that 36 that did improve over the 60 of my total sample and divide those two numbers. I'm going to get a decimal. 36 divided by 60, 0.6. But I need to convert that decimal to a percent. So I'm going to move that decimal 2 places to the right and stick a percent sign in there. 60%. Okay, and if we check out our choices, that's choice A. All right, that's not too shabby. 33. A temperature of negative 15 degrees Celsius is equal to how many degrees Fahrenheit? All right, well, they give us the conversion formula. Fahrenheit equals 9/5 times my degrees Celsius plus 32. So I'm just going to put that in there at negative 15. 9/5 times negative 15 plus 32. So I'm going to get a negative number here. Okay, I can just, there's a way to kind of cancel that 15 and that 5 out a little bit, but it's easy enough. You don't have to worry about the negative. You should know this is negative. I got positive, positive, and only one negative. So it's negative. Once I'm crunching the number, I don't have to put the negative in there. I'm just going to say 9 times 15 and then divided by 5. And I'll get a 27, but I know it's negative 27. Okay, so negative 27 plus 32. So then on this calculator, to actually make that a negative 27, I would have to hit that button. And then I can add 32 to it, and I'll get a 5. Okay, positive 5. So if I check out my choices for number 33, choice A is positive 5. Okay, 34. What's good old 34 have to say for itself? A state sales tax is 7%. If a student paid a total of $37.45 for a uniform, what was the price of the uniform without the tax? Okay, so the total, we could say total price equals the, we could just call it the cost plus the cost times the tax rate. Right, you're taxing a percentage of that cost, and then you're adding it on top of the cost. That's how you get the sell price. Okay, there's a little more direct way you could do it also, but this way is easy enough, I think. We were told what the total price is, $37.45. I'll just use C for cost, equals C plus C times my tax rate of 7%. Okay, so 37.45 equals that C plus 0.07 C, right? So 37.45 equals, that's really a good old 1 in front of there, right? So it's 1.07 C. Divide by 1.07 on both sides. And I will get my cost now before tax. I'm going to take 37.45 and divide it by 1.07. I'm going to get $35. Okay. If we check out the old prices there, you see 35 alone is not sitting there, right? But what is sitting there? 35.00. We're talking a dollars and cents problem here. So I didn't show the cents, but it would be $35.00. So if we look at choice C, that's going to be our winner. Okay. Okay, 35. What do we have now? 35. If, it just sets it up for us. Look at that, classic proportion. If 3/7 equals 5 over x, we didn't even have to think about this one, figure out what x is. Okay, cross multiply and we're home free. 3x equals 7 times 5 is 35. Divide by 3, divide by 3. X equals 35 over 3. We scope out our choices. We see choice A is right there. And we've got it. Okay, so that was pretty easy. All right, 36. What percentage of 80 is 15? Okay, we've done some of these. What percentage of 80 is 15? Okay, translate that right to an equation. Those two words, what percent, we'll call it x. Of means times. So x times 80 is means equals 15. There we go. X times 80 equals 15. Divide by 80. divided by 80, x equals 15 divided by 80, which will give us a decimal, 0.1875, but you're going to see that's not one of our choices because the question says what percent. How do you turn that decimal into a percent? You move it 2 places to the right, so 18.75, and slap a percent sign on it. And if we check out our choices, they're choice A. Okay. All right, I know there's only 4 questions left, but I'm going to stop the video here and we will conclude it on our next and last video.